This is PrepTest 156, Section 3, Passage 4. It is about a chemist who found a biodegradable replacement for a widely used industrial chemical. And this reads like a standard straightforward science story, but it's not. There is an opinion buried in this passage that most students miss entirely, which makes this medium difficulty. Now, this is a science passage, but it's not just explaining a discovery, it is actually building a case. The author wants you to believe the industry made a mistake when it walked away from polyaspartate. Now, the most important paragraph here is the third one. That's where everything turns, so we're going to spend the most time here. Paragraph 1 is the origin story. Koskin reads about oyster shells, has an insight, and connects it to an industrial problem. Now, here's what you need to lock in. Oysters produce polyaspartate. It does the same job as polyacrylates. It stops mineral scale buildup on equipment. But polyaspartate is biodegradable because its backbone is made of peptides, meaning chains of amino acids. Polyacrylates aren't biodegradable. Their backbone is hydrocarbon-based. And that single difference drives everything that follows. Now, don't get lost in oyster biology, it's just the spark. You want to read this at normal speed, but make sure you walk away with one thing. Same job, different backbone. One breaks down and one doesn't. Paragraph 2 is a misdirect. You're reading about polyaspartate's potential, and suddenly the passage stops talking about it completely. The whole paragraph is about polyacrylates, how useful they are, how cheap they are, how they show up in detergents, diapers, everywhere. 500 million pounds a year in detergents alone, 2 billion pounds a year in diapers. The author is stacking those numbers on purpose. You are supposed to feel the scale and the weight of the problem before you see the word landfills. The last sentence, these vast quantities are being discarded in landfills, is the whole reason this paragraph exists. Everything before it is built up, so you want to skim the middle and slow down at the end. Now, paragraph 3 is where skimming destroys you. 3 things happen fast, and you've got to catch all of them. First is the good news. Koskin starts a company. Big chemical firms get interested. Everyone agrees polyaspartate is the most suitable replacement. Then second, you've got bad news. It costs 4 to 5 times more. The industry drops it. Now, you want to watch the word unfortunately right before the price reveal. That is not a neutral word. That's the author telling you this was a loss. Then third, you've got the comeback. Koskin's company stays in the fight. They skip the mainstream market and go after specialty niches like offshore oil equipment and farming, and it works. Polyaspartate shows unparalleled success in those areas. Then, look at the very last line. The author says Koskin may yet help enliven the environmental chemistry sector. That phrase, may yet, is careful. It's hopeful, but not certain. The author isn't saying Koskin won. The author is saying Koskin might still change the game. Now, the key move here is the gap between what the industry decided and what actually happened. The big players looked at the price tag and they quit. So Koskin found another path. The test will ask you to see that the author thinks the quitting was premature. Now, here is the main trap. The passage feels like a neutral science explainer, but it's not. The author has a clean lean in favor of Koskin's side. Unfortunately, the phrase unfortunately tells you the author thinks the industry's decision was a bad call. The phrase may yet help enliven tells you the author is still rooting for this outcome. If you read this as a flat news report, you're going to pick wrong. You'll miss on the main point, you'll miss on the author's attitude. You're going to grab the answers that say objectively describes a chemical process instead of one that says advocates for an overlooked alternative. The advocates is closer to being correct. Now, before you hit the questions, you want to check yourself on 3 things. First, why does the author spend an entire paragraph on polyacrylates when the passage is really about polyaspartate? Second, whose side is the word unfortunately on? And third, why does the passage end on Koskin's niche instead of the industry shelving the technology? So why are they focusing on Koskin winning versus the industry shelving? What's the purpose of that?